Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Morbitzer. For those of you that don't know me, I am a psychic medium in Ohio, and I get a lot of questions all the time, so I wanted to answer one of the questions I get more often than most questions, and that is, how did you know you were a psychic? How did you get to the point where you are now? So it's a great story. It involves a little bit of a lot of different things throughout my life that started my journey to becoming where I am today. So I'll start by when I was a child, I always felt like I had a connection to the spirit world. I was born and raised Southern Baptist, so that was a big no-no. However, after church, I would still feel like I had a connection to God, the angels, and I would process lots of the things I would learn in church. Most of the stuff I totally believed in. Some of it I kind of questioned. However, I was the 10-year-old that checked out books at the library of how to be a psychic. Imagine that, bringing home a book from the library on how to be a psychic to your Southern Baptist parents. So, but it was still something I wanted to do as a kid. I had lots of paranormal experiences as a kid. Not only did I feel like I had a good angel connection, but I also had a lot of weird things happen that just couldn't be explained. I did do my first house cleansing at 12 years old. I did play with a Ouija board, unfortunately, but I was super curious about the spirit world, so I was gonna go there. And after I had played with the Ouija board, all kinds of crazy stuff would happen. I would see dark shadows, think that people was there when they were not. Always felt like something was behind me, so I would go flying down the stairs as fast as I could. So then I went down the street to a lady who lived the Bible. She breathed it, lived it, told her what was going on, and she helped me to walk through my house and bless the house. And believe it or not, it actually did get rid of the things that were happening. Fast forward to you grow up and, get a life. And I always felt like, you just have to be special. I'm not special enough to have a gift to be a medium or a psychic. So I ended up getting married, having kids, lots of stress in my life. And I feel like some of the stress took a toll on my physical body. So in my mid-30s, first of all, I was never a kid that had a lot of energy anyways. And even from a young child, I would sleep, I would need to I call it a sleep attack. So then I was diagnosed with narcolepsy, but as I got older and meditated, that has been downplayed to now. It's not narcolepsy anymore, but it is idiopathic hypersomnia. The reason that comes into play in the story is I felt like my whole life I was never able to, when I was asleep, I felt like I was traveling realms or something. My dreams were so vivid. Lots of times things in my dreams would show up in my personal life, so I felt like I always had that dream connection as well. But then, in my mid-30s, I did get sick. I had issues swallowing food, started choking on food, and then I ended up just not being able to go anymore. And it took a long time to figure out what was wrong with me, but they settled on a neuromuscular disease called myasthenia gravis. So that affected my ability to chew and swallow and walk and talk. It was hard to get up and down stairs. So I could not go back to my job. I had a job of cleaning houses, and that's very physical, so I couldn't go back to work. So a friend took me to psychic Cindy Riggs, who is actually local out of Worthington here in Ohio. And she didn't tell me what was wrong with me. And that was a blessing in disguise all in itself. But she did do some past life stuff on me, which I wasn't sure if I believed in at the time. But she said some things that were far too interesting to just ignore. And that didn't make me feel good right away, but I do feel like over time it released some things that maybe I have carried over from a past life. But then she gave me, she talked to me about meditation, and she gave me a list of books to read. Well, I had a big droopy eye, because if you ever know anything about myasthenia gravis, it makes one of your eyes droop. And it's hard to stay awake to read. So I have a good friend named Renee, and she actually had every single book Cindy Riggs had requested that I read, but Renee had them on audio tape, or on audio CD, not audio tape. God, how old am I? But anyway, she had all those on audio CD. So So while I was laid up and my kids were in school, I would just play the CD and listen to the books. But what I want to point out is how interesting it was that when I did get sick and I was brought down to a low point in my life, how there were people there that showed up and how those people had the tools that I needed. It's almost weird how everything kind of fell in place to facilitate my healing. It was probably a good thing that I had a hard time talking, because then it kept me off of my phone so that I could just focus on my own physical body and healing. My kids were still pretty young at that point, and I wasn't going to be down for too long. So, that's when I learned about the law of attraction, what you think becomes your reality, and all that stuff. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit to, I've always been a sensitive person. I always felt like I could feel what other people are feeling emotionally. It was a big wake-up call when I realized I could be feeling what people feel physically. And I don't see spirits like people see ghosts. That was kind of when I was a kid, but as I got older, it wasn't like that. I kind of got a vision in my head that looks like a memory. That's how I see spirits. Thank God, otherwise I couldn't do what I do. If I see something look like a real ghost, I'm running for the door. So it's a good thing that I only see them like a memory in my mind's eye. But to get back on track, my husband and I, he was the first one that noticed that I might have been feeling other people's physical pain. We had taken a trip out to Christmas shop, and I had been sick for quite a while, so we didn't have very many outings where I felt well enough to go. And this particular day, I felt great, and I wanted to go. So we pull in to eat breakfast, just at a local IHOP. And as we're walking into the restaurant, my head started hurting, and I believe I used the words, "My head hurts so bad, I think I'm going to black out." So I immediately started worrying, like, oh gosh, I finally get to be out. We're going to Christmas shop. I can't believe my head is starting to hurt. So we got inside the restaurant after that. We got seated. He went off, and when he came back, he was smiling real big, and he said, "Did you just see what happened?" And I said, "No, I didn't see." And he said, "Well, how does your head feel?" And I said, "Well, my head feels just fine, like it's all gone." And he told me that the waitress that was going to wait on our table had told the manager the exact same words I used when I was in the parking lot about her head hurting so bad she might black out. So he was the one that kind of pulled me in, like maybe I'm not feeling my own pain. So once I noticed that, it was kind of almost everywhere I went, every ache or pain I got, I would see a symbol of the person in front of me or someone around me complain of the same ailment. So that was very eye-opening to me. Then I got another big time, I don't know if you want to call it a reality check, but it was kind of weird. Once I got my voice back and all that stuff, I had talked to a friend on the phone that I hadn't spoke to in quite a while. So I didn't know anything about her situation with her boyfriend or anything like that. All I know is when we were talking on the phone, I started feeling like I smoked a pack of cigarettes when I've never smoked cigarettes in my life. Then I started wheezing and coughing, and I kept telling her, something's wrong with me. I feel like I smoked a pack of cigarettes. And she could hear me wheezing and coughing. And it was to the point where I had to get off of the phone. Like I was a little like, something's wrong with me. So I hung up the phone with her, and it all went away. And then a weird thought popped up in my head that said, tell her not to leave her boyfriend just yet. Well, I didn't even know she was going to leave her boyfriend. But that episode kind of freaked me out. Kind of took me to a spiritualist church where I talked to a pastor at a spiritualist church. And he said, sounds like you're a medium. And it sounds like somebody who passed away may have passed away of a smoking disease. You need to call your friend back and tell her, what's going on. So it took me 2 weeks to get up the nerve to call her back because I don't have a lot of friends in the friend department. And I was like, oh great, am I going to lose this one? She's going to think I'm a Looney Tune. But I took my chances and I called her up. And I told her, what had happened, and she remembered the coughing episode, and she said that her grandparents, both grandmother and grandfather, did both die of smoking diseases, and that they both smoked pretty big time. And she started to cry and said that right before I called her back, she was going to call about renting another apartment because she was wanting to leave her boyfriend. And at that very moment that she said that, I felt like she needed to just wait till August. And in August, the perfect apartment popped up for her. Another person came out of the woodwork who just come out of a relationship. And those two have been together for probably 4 years now. So that was kind of my first reading per se, without realizing it was a reading. So once I realized that this gift was coming out strong, and the better I felt in my physical body as I was healing from from myasthenia gravis, I figured that it was time to figure out what to do with it. I read every book that was drawn to me, any book about, being a psychic, being a medium, being protected. I did take an online class, and John Holland was my guy. When I was younger, I would always go see John Holland, and I had all his books. So then I started listening to Hay House Radio and actually won a deck of his cards. I got on the show, I got to ask a question. After I asked the question, they sent me his deck of cards. So that opened me up to the tarot as well. But anyways, everybody does hold special gifts inside of them. Some people's gifts are more prominent than other people's gifts, and if it's something that you are super drawn to and you have been your whole life, it's those people I recommend maybe, taking some classes, reading some books, learning how to develop your gifts safely so that you can use it for the greater good of people. I did take classes with lots of different mentors, but here I am today. So I don't know if that helps you guys to understand my story and how I got here. If you really enjoyed parts of my story, or you have, anything you would like to know more about, feel free to leave a comment, and then I'll know, kind of what you guys want to hear more about. But look forward to more videos coming from Jennifer. Thanks a bunch.